let's talk about some awesome crochet patterns that hold 2 or more strands of yarn together. Rochelle here, and I'm back to share some yarn goodness with y'all today. Okay, so Trish of Tie Dye Diva and I are hosting a make-along called the Better Together MAL, and so we wanted to give you all some pattern inspiration. She's going to be handling the knitting side, and I'm going to be handling the crochet side. So today I'm going to share some patterns with you all, and it's going to range from garments to accessories to patterns for the home. And I will link everything that I talk about today, but all of the projects are holding at least 2 or more strands of yarn together. And I'll talk a little bit more about the make-along later. So let's get started with garments. All right, up first we have the Tyndall top designed by Janine Miska of Knits and Knots. So this one holds 2 strands of DK weight to make Aran weight. And this is a paid pattern, but a free version is also available on her blog. So definitely check that out if you're interested. And the bust circumference ranges between 28 to 62 inches. And in centimeters, that's 71 to 157.5. So this also calls for an eye hook, which is a 5.5 millimeter. And as I always say, your tension, your gauge may be different from the designer. So you may need to change your hook size. You may need to go up or down. Now, you will need to know a few skills, and those skills include chain, single crochet 2 together, slip stitch, and yarn over slip stitch. I'm pretty sure I've never done a yarn over slip stitch before, so that's definitely a new technique for me. So this is crochet bottom up, and it is a sleeveless crochet top featuring a curved neckline and a knit-like ribbing along the bottom hem. And also it is crochet flat in 2 panels. All right, let's talk about our next pattern. We have the Zelts Sweater designed by Linda Skaya of 11 Handmade. Y'all know me in names. But this calls for 1 strand of fingering and 1 strand of lace to make DK. So the bust circumference ranges between 43 to 75 inches. And in centimeters, that's 110 to 190. You will need an H hook, which is a 5.0 millimeter. And it has 13 inches or 33 centimeters of positive ease. So when you're picking out a pattern and you're thinking about making it, you want to consider the ease. And that's going to really affect the fit of your garment. So the skills that are needed. Okay, so here's the thing. So some of these patterns are paid and some of them are free. Obviously, if they're free, I'm able to see the actual skills. I'm able to download the pattern and see the skills. But if it's paid, I'm not able to. So this is a paid pattern, so I don't have the skills that are needed. But of course, if you buy the pattern, you will be able to see that. So that's something that you'll see in this video. Sometimes I'll talk about the skills that are needed and sometimes I won't. But this is crochet bottom up in the round. The body and the sleeves are joined at a lower bust line, flowing into an elongated circular yoke. And it has delicate lines of leaves and filet crochet eyelets. So if you've ever wanted to try filet crochet, this pattern is for you. And also it has a 3/4 sleeve. Okay, our next one is the I'll Pencil You In sweater designed by Lindsay Muscarelli. And this calls for 1 strand of lace and 1 strand of worsted to make worsted. So this is a paid pattern, and the bust circumference ranges between 28 to 62 inches, and that's 71 to 158 centimeters. You will need a 5.0 millimeter crochet hook or an H hook. And the sweater design includes a double folded collar, thick bottom ribbing, and knit-like crochet stitches. So if you're someone that's interested in your crochet stitches looking like knit stitches, this is a really good pattern for you. Okay, let's jump to our next one. we have the Apple Orchard designed by Christina Smiley for Expression Fiber Arts. So this one calls for 2 strands of fingering to make a DK. And it calls for, or it's a paid pattern. And the bust circumference ranges between 32 to 66 inches. And in centimeters, that's 81 to 168. So you will need 2 crochet hook sizes for this pattern. You will need a 5.0 millimeter H hook and a 4.0 millimeter G hook. And this pattern has 3 inches of positive ease, and in centimeters, that is 7.5. So it is crochet top down with the scoop neck, and the techniques include front and back post stitches, puff stitches, and then combining them to make cables. And also it's reversible. So, this pattern has a lot of wonderful techniques. It's reversible. You get to practice cables, and I really like that. Next up, we have the Fuzzy Peach Cardigan designed by MJ's Off the Hook Designs. And this calls for 1 strand of lace and 1 strand of worsted to make Aaron. So this is a paid pattern, and the sizes range between small to 5XL. The actual bust circumference isn't listed, but it is available between a small and a 5XL. So quite the size range there. You will need two knitting needles. I knit and I crochet, so I got knitting on the brain for a reason. But anyway, it calls for 2 crochet hook sizes. You will need a 5.0 millimeter H hook and a 5.5 millimeter I hook. And this is crochet bottom up and features an afterthought pocket. Also, the cardigan is worked in pieces and seamed together. So if you don't mind seaming up a pattern, this is a really good one for you. Next up, we have the Taylor Twist Swift Dress designed by Femke of Mempa, the label. I feel like I butchered that. But anyway, this calls for 3 strands of fingering to make DK. So 3 strands of yarn. How fun. So this is a free pattern, and the bust circumference ranges between 27.5 to 63.5 inches. And in centimeters, that is 70 to 160. So you will need a 4.5 millimeter crochet hook to make this dress. And the ease is between 4 to 8 inches of positive ease. And in centimeters, that's 10 to 20. So this pattern combines knitting and crochet. It is worked flat in pieces. All the pieces are seamed together. And lastly, the neckline is finished with either a knitted I-cord or crochet. So if you're someone that loves combining knit and crochet, this dress pattern is perfect for you. All right, let's move on to accessories. The first one we have is the Just Feel Festive Shawl designed by Kalisha Ryan. So this one calls for 2 strands of fingering to make DK. And this is a paid pattern. And the finished size, basically, the pattern is worked as wide or as long as you want. I've actually have made 2 of these shawls myself, and I use 1 strand of yarn, but this calls for 2 strands of fingering weight. Really great for mini skeins. And if you want to elongate or, change the size, you simply modify the foundation chain by multiples of 3. So that's all you have to do. And this calls for an H hook, which is a 5.0 millimeter. And also what's really cool about this shawl is that it is a granny stripe with a twist. It is worked on the bias. So therefore, your stripes are all going to be diagonal. So I think that's a really cool feature for this shawl. Next up, we have the Amethyst Bandana designed by the Firefly Hook. Now this one calls for 2 strands of fingering to make DK. And this is paid, but there's also a free version of this pattern available on the designer's blog. So the finished size is 15 inches in height, 12 inches in width, increasing up to 17 inches in width. And so when you convert that to centimeters, you have 38 centimeters in height, 30.5 centimeters in width, and it increases up to 43 centimeters. So you will need a 5mm crochet hook, which is an H hook. And to make this, you simply need to know how to chain, back loop only, single crochet, and slip stitch. So this cowl is worked in one piece, holding 2 strands of yarn together and increasing in the same place each round. 2 single crochet stitches are worked to create the triangle at the front piece. And when working this increase, you alternate working in the first and second single crochet to keep the triangle straight. So that's some technical knowledge for you if you consider making this bandana. Okay, let's move on to our next one. It is the Hooded Balaclava Cowl, designed by Lisa Unch Crochet. So this one calls for 2 strands of DK weight to make Aran. And it is a paid pattern, but there's also a free version available on the designer's blog. Now, this one doesn't have a particular size. It is made for an adult size. And you will need a J hook, which is a 6mm crochet hook. And the pattern includes detailed instructions for measuring and adjusting the cowl. So this is a cowl that is customizable to fit various head sizes. And also if you want to adjust it to be maybe more snug, block some of the wind out, you can do that. Or you can make it a little bit wider. The choice is yours. It's really great for cold weather. Today's weather happens to be really nice because we've been getting cold weather forever. And today is actually a nice sunny day in the 60s. So I'm definitely grateful for the break in the cold weather. Let me know, are you still experiencing cold weather? I would love to know. Okay, let's move on to the Bestie Scarf, designed by Tony Lipsy of TL Yarn Crafts. So this one calls for 2 strands of lace and 1 strand of sport to make DK. Now, this is a paid pattern, but a free version is also available on the designer's blog. The finished size is 15 inches wide and 80 inches long. And in centimeters, that's 38 by 203. So you will need an L hook or an 8.0mm crochet hook. And basically the skills that you need to know include chain, loops, Tunisian knit stitch, last Tunisian stitch, return pass, slip stitch, and yarn over. So obviously this is a Tunisian crochet pattern. And I wanted to include this because in the make along, you can knit, crochet, Tunisian crochet. So, whatever you want to do that holds 2 strands of yarn together or 2 strands of, 2 strands of yarn together, whatever you want to do, embroider, it doesn't matter. As long as you're holding 2 strands together, you can enter the make along. So, another thing about this that I really didn't know because I don't know a whole lot about Tunisian crochet is that the Tunisian knit stitch really mimics knitting really well. So once again, if you are a crocheter that wants to make something that looks knitted, test out this pattern. It is a Tunisian crochet pattern. Okay, let's move on to our next one. This is the Golightly Tote, designed by Lion Brand. So this calls for 2 strands of sport weight to make Aran, and it is a free pattern. The finished size is 35 inches or 89 centimeters circumference at the widest point. So you will need an I hook or a 5.5mm crochet hook, and you will need to know how to chain, double crochet, single crochet, slip stitch, and yarn over. And so this tote is worked from the bottom up, and then the 2 handles are attached together using single crochet. Okay, let's talk about patterns for the home. All right, the first one we have is the Double Sweet Ripple Blanket, designed by Nastia. I practiced this. Nastia. I hope I got that right. But everything I talk about today will be linked below. So this one calls for 2 strands of Aran to create bulky. And this is a free pattern. And the finished size is 48 inches wide, 56 inches long. And in centimeters, that is 121.9 by 142.2. So you will need an L hook, which is an 8.0 millimeter. And you will need to know how to chain, single crochet, and skip stitches. And this pattern comes with a step-by-step video tutorial. So that is so incredibly helpful. Next up, we have the Stash Basket designed by Emily Boldman of Maker Maker. So this calls for 2 strands of DK to make a bulky. And it calls for, or rather it is a free pattern, so that's great. It comes in 2 sizes. The small is 5.5 inches as the base and 5 inches in height. And that's 14 by 12.5 centimeters. And then the large has a 7-inch base and it is 6.7 inches in height. And in centimeters, that's 18 by 17. So you will need a 5 millimeter H hook to make this. And you will need to know how to chain, double crochet increase, and slip stitch. So, of course, yarn is held double throughout the entire pattern, and you can either hold 2 of the same yarns throughout, or you can switch it up and make kind of a variegated look. You can change the colors at different times, so you definitely have options there. Now, I have made a Ravelry bundle for all of these patterns, and I will leave it linked below. And let me know what are your favorites. Let me know in the comments which of these you would like to make, or maybe you've already made them. Definitely let me know. I wanted to share what I am wearing. So I am wearing the Penelope dress designed by Ashley Kaiser of Sorella. It is a free crochet pattern. I made an entire video about it, and I will leave my Ravelry link below with the video link in it. So, as I mentioned before, I wanted to tell you more about the make-along, so check this out. Hello everyone, I have an announcement to make. Trish of Tie Dye Diva and I are hosting a make-along, and it starts February 1st and ends on April 30th. So it is called the Better Together Make-Along because we will be working on projects where you hold 2 or more strands of yarn together. And all crafts are welcome, whether you knit, crochet, embroider, cross stitch, loom knit, whatever you want, as long as you're holding at least 2 or more strands of yarn together. And so as long as you haven't done more than 50% of the project, you're allowed to bring in those whips. So if you already have a project that you're working on and you hold 2 or more strands together, you can definitely enter. Also, there will be 2 prize winners. One's going to be on Instagram and one's going to be on Ravelry. So Trish is going to be heading up the Ravelry page, and I'll be working on the Instagram page. And also, this make-along is open to all U.S. residents and international. So definitely join us. Make sure you use the hashtag BetterTogetherMakeAlong. All right, so I am so excited to see what you all come up with. And yeah, thanks for joining. Let me know what you worked on while watching, or did you just chill? I would love to know. I love reading you all's comments, so definitely leave me a comment. Also, feel free to subscribe, to like the video if you enjoyed it, and to click that notification bell so you know when the next video is coming. Thank you all so much for your support. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye!